Days, 24 All-Stars, 4 co-hosts, and 1 podcast. This is Pooty. I'm your host, Jonathan LaPaglia, this season. And this is the first episode of Austranded, where we get to talk about what has been going on. A little bit of a rough start with all the inactives, but we have a larger cast. So I think now that it's narrowed down, we're left with a really good group. I think the inactives were good too, but they didn't show up. So I'll go ahead and introduce you guys. Joining the podcast for the first time is Crazy James,
aka Krister Fucks, the host.
Also joining us is Michael,
also known as Juso.
Is this your first time on the podcast?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome. Missy, this is not your first time, but welcome as a host.
Hello.
And of course, Nofo.
Hi, I don't know who I'm hosting as.
I don't either. No idea. Nicolette, is that you?
Christie's Wrangler.
Yeah, he's the Christie Wrangler. Nofo is going to kill me this season for having to wrangle Christie again. Even though I told him to leave her on mute.
She messages me almost every single day.
I think I've got it down pat because I just kind of don't answer her until she gets all her ranting done, and then I just hit her with highlights, and then she's cool. And Liz has been teaching her how to use the forums, so I guess that's good. So this season, the first 4 boots were inactives. They were, sadly, Mia playing Janine. I think that's probably the biggest loss of them. Elle, who was my winner pick, played by Ken. Henry, who is Maddie, and who else? Lockie, played by... Who the fuck was Lockie? My memory.
I think it was Tom Hiddlesworth.
What?
It was a low-key joke. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't funny.
Nerd. Alec. Okay. Alec played Lockie. I still think all those guys would have been great. I kind of had an inkling Maddie would be inactive. I was surprised by the others, less so Mia, because Mia was a huge get, and I knew she was on vacation that weekend, but she still hasn't gotten back to me, so what you gonna do?
I'm highly upset about her.
Yeah, I think everyone's upset about her. Waste of a good rep, but also not getting to see Mia is always a disappointment. But I'm hopeful in the future she'll be back. Season 2 of Austranded, I think, is off to a good start. Of course, we had to modify it from the first one. For those unaware, the first time the players were, for the most part, unaware that it was an all-star. So they just thought it was a new series. So it was like a surprise at the end when that was revealed. This season, of course, everyone was going to know that. So we had to come up with some different mechanics to make it interesting. I really like how it's played out so far. It's hard to tell because it's only the first week and there's not been too many real boots that are surprises. But so far, I'm really enjoying everyone. I really enjoy the smaller tribe start to this one. I was worried about that with activity level. But being all-stars, I figured they'd be okay. Shout out to James for that idea to do the challenge that would select the tribes. Something we haven't done in a very long time. And I think it's a necessity if we're going to do 4 tribes with smaller groups because you really need to have the challenges balanced. And they have been, I think.
I think that helped with the inactive people, so that way one tribe didn't take a hard hit when they had 3 inactives that had to go out.
Right. Yes. And I think, too, so far a tribe hasn't had to go back to back, but also they each have their people who are lower on the list. So I think they're really even tribes. And I really like the groups. So really, we only had Nova won overall on that competition. So she got the power to force an early swap, which will go unused for this round, but it will go back into play. Shout out to James for that twist. And I think it's a cool twist. I think obviously the inactive slaughter cock blocked it a little bit. And 2, I think maybe going forward with there being some more riskier councils, people will be more inclined to use it. So I'm not too down on it just yet. We'll see what happens after. We'll learn a little bit more as we go. But I think so far, so good. What do you guys think of the forces swap?
I like the power. I think it's a pretty unique power whenever I was reading on it. It's definitely something different you haven't seen in the past. And especially with it being an all-star season like this, they could really start the game, kind of fucking people over.
I'm very excited that Nova has the power. Nova just seems like someone who is ready to cause chaos at any point, and maybe just chaos for chaos sake, and that is very important to me.
Yeah, I know Nova. Nova is someone you were super excited that we got to play. An iconic online gamer going very old school, maybe even further back than me. And she's someone who didn't have like a big reputation in Stranded. So I was very excited to get her back under a new alias because I feel like she had obviously untapped potential for Stranded that we didn't get too much of. So that's what I really love about Austranded, especially this season. The first one, we had more of an all-star cast, which this time we have our heavy hitters, but we also have like newer all-stars, and we have players who were not all-stars when they're in their first season, or players who haven't played in 10 years. So really, I think it's an opportunity for people to shine, and that's what I'm enjoying the most is seeing players like Tessa, Nova, Michelle, Tegan, who we don't really remember as a legend, but this season are proving their status, I think. And that's what I'm enjoying the most. Who has stood out for you guys?
Tessa has the most for me. Tessa and Nova. I've been seeing a lot about Nova just because she's kind of in with people and she is starting to get really good at the challenges. I mean, she came out on top for, what was it, the first challenge for her? And then I like Tegan and Tessa. They're kind of one of my favorites right now.
Yeah, they have so much personality that I didn't realize. I mean, when I think of them as players, I think of them strategically, but I don't necessarily think that they're like these huge personalities, and they really are this season. I mean, they're two of my favorites. And also we have some of the newer players who maybe went out early or were not known for being the best players, but, you know, Christy and Vince in particular. Vince has shocked me. I mean, I knew he was better than what he showed because he got sniped by Missy early that season. And he seems to know that he's like a fish out of water with big players. But to me, I love that. And I love that he's getting a chance to kind of shine here.
I absolutely agree. Vince Baden is probably one of my surprise favorites. He's just so sweet and sincere, and you can just tell he is loving the second chance he has, that he can actually prove himself. It is just so cute to watch him kind of make his way through this game, and I want him to do well. I'm really rooting for Baden.
Yeah, and Vince was someone who, like, he was pretty one note. He got, he was annoying, but he talked too much. I haven't seen that this time. It's almost like a different person, which is great because he gets a new rep. It's a new start for him. So I love seeing that. Other highlights, I mean, we can talk about Christy. What's not to say?
Please.
I think she's entertaining for players. Certainly the other tribes love having her around because she sucks so hard at challenges. That 11-hour time that she posted was amazing. But for sure, I think the most entertaining part is for lurkers because we really get to see all the crazy behind the scenes that maybe the players don't necessarily. I feel like they get a little bit, but not like the full range of crazy that we get. Shout out Jen Christie, who we love when she listens back to this, but watching is amazing.
Yeah, leave me alone.
I want to say, as someone who's played with Christy before when she was Jen in Isolated 6, I mean, people here, they all think she's the newbie, and they're all guessing she's the newbie, and then they're finding out they're wrong. So now they're faced with this situation where they're like, okay, well, so what is this person actually trying to do here? And that was kind of a question we faced a lot. Like, is she legitimately playing? Is she just trolling everyone? Because she does have these moments where she's like, really forming alliances. Like, she actually had an alliance with Mark and Tessa, who are two of the stronger players on her tribe. And I think Mark and Tessa both legitimately valued that alliance. But now with her being so off the rails and like messaging them crazy things at 5 a.m. that are just, spamming everybody about and missing challenge dates and not understanding the forums, I do think that, she runs this risk of screwing herself out of these slight moments of brilliance that she might have either accidentally or intentionally. So I do think where she ends up in the swap could matter, because if she ends up in a place where her Chiricha tribe mates need her, maybe she sticks longer. But if she's expendable, she could be gone. Who knows? Yeah,
I think that's part of the charm. Because if she was just off the rails, and I mean, she is, but if that was all she had going for her, she wouldn't last long and we would have forgotten about her. But it's the fact that she does make these connections and has like these moments of being genuine. We're like, well, maybe she's not crazy. And then
Yeah,
you're like, oh
I
no,
said
she's
brilliance
she's
before. Yeah, she's not brilliant
Brilliance-
at all. No,
brilliance is
not at all.
strong. That was a little strong.
No, she has moments of like seeming to understand social dynamics.
Right.
Was she
I think
this
she's-
crazy in ISO?
Yes, 100%.
Oh God.
Worse.
Yep.
She's actually much better this time.
She could survive longer because being just totally non-present is fine in an individual game. You know, you're just nobody notices you.
Right.
But here,
right.
when she's like forced to perform in these challenges and people actually give a shit that she doesn't, that she's scoring 0, it raises her target. But yeah.
Well, I think in Stranded, a Survivor in general, when someone's inactive or, you know, a non-factor threat-wise, I think the problem with that is that you couldn't rely on her vote necessarily. So that will probably cost her quicker than it did in Isolated. But while she's there, she's super entertaining, proving her all-star status, even though she's so annoying for hosts and players. But I mean, that's why we love her. So I speak for myself.
Well, I'm glad everyone likes her.
I speak for myself and not Nofo.
No, I don't hate her as a person. I just hate
she's
her
just-
as I just hate how she is so
She's needy.
focused on me. She blames me for things.
Well, that's true. She's very angry at you for reasons that are inexplicable and probably incorrect. But, you know, what you gonna do? So that's Christy. Other crazies that we have this season that I love, Jericho, I need to talk about because holy crap, I had forgotten. I mean, I knew he was iconic to me as like this person who had these epic rants and copy pastas and, you know, was kind of like a meme, but I'd forgotten just why. And now that he's back, and being even more aggravated. he's a curmudgeon, really.
I had forgotten how miserable he is.
It's so entertaining, though, I have to say. Like, I crack up every time I read it. Because, like, okay, for instance, he was like, I'm quitting because there's a newbie here and they know our identities. And I didn't sign up for that. And then he's like, so messages go off and we whisper now. If I had known that, I would have just quit on the spot. Like, what are you talking about? Like, that is the most inconsequential of additions to the game.
Like, what
But
is
God love
this
him.
guy? Where did you find him? He hates
I don't know.
everything.
He was very hard to convince to come back, and like he's still bitching about it. Like, you know, I had to take a mental break because Stranded was so traumatic for me, and now that I'm back, I thought it was going to be different, but it's starting to sound like, what are you talking about? You're doing fine. Like, why are you hyperventilating over nothing? But that's Brian/Jericho. I love him as Jericho. He's super entertaining. I hope he can make it somewhat far because every moment with him is just insanity in the best way. I'm glad it's just not me, because for a while I was like, oh, maybe it's just me who finds it hilarious that he infamously got rocked out of the game with the instant tribal council in his season. And apparently he's been rocked out of millions of games. When I say rocked out, that means there was a tie and they drew rocks. And of course, he was the unlucky one. So then we had to hear about it for years and years about how he got rocked out of this season. I'm glad he won't be known for only that after this, but I think maybe it'll be for just being super aggravated all the time about the smallest of things. Other highlights, Hope is back as Daisy. I love Hope. She's pretty much the same. I think we need to talk about Susie as Kylie. Susie's the stranded den mother is what I call her.
Susie is queen.
Yeah, I mean, everybody loves Susie. It's impossible to hate Susie. And she's like found an idol again. So I love that. I love that she's twice the age of some of these people and outsmarts them and can get in the dirt with a lot of people and play the game hard. I just love Susie. I think she's fantastic. And I love the conversation between her and Matt, played by Tommy, who are both the oldest in the cast, where he recognized that she didn't trash on Christy with everyone else. And he was like, you know, I thought that was really good. I forget what he said. I think it was good sportsmanship or something. And he recognized that like she was just a really likable person and someone who's not just going to go along with trashing people because it bonds the group. She's going to, you know, give them the benefit of the doubt. I just thought that was a really good moment. Also loving Tommy this time. Tommy, of course, in his season, he was more of like an under the radar strategy player. This time I see him as one of the bigger threats. And I think if people knew it was Tommy, that would be a problem, because I think since his season, he's really grown strategically. I think this season he's going to overplay. And I think he's already begun overplaying with out of the alias guessing. He's really the only one who's gone all in on alias guessing, which is the name of the game this time. So,
and that actually really surprises me. It surprises me that a lot of people aren't taking this alias guessing game more seriously. I know that if I was in there, I would be coming up with some sort of plan to like maximize my coin potential. And most people are just sticking to their own tribe when they're guessing.
Well, they have to.
Well, I mean,
you mean like overall?
You know, I would have been doing a lot of research. Well, I'm very well known for my research, but
I was gonna say. I was gonna say. I mean, that's not surprising coming from you or James, or if Dean was here, he'd be another one. The sleuths of our games, but yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised that it's almost not a factor where people are like, I probably don't know anyone, nobody probably knows me. We've really cast this season diversely in era of Stranded, so I don't think that they do know one another. And I think that that's a big lesson for me going forward is, maybe we don't need to lean into the alias aspect as heavily as I thought it would factor. But, we'll learn as we go. I think as a series, though, Austranded is very exciting because it's something new and different. And this second iteration is really the first time we get to see what the future of this spin-off of Stranded is, with everyone knowing Deal. Who else have we talked about? Drew as David. Very excited for him. I haven't seen a ton from him yet, but I know it's coming. A very good player. Flicka Ben has surprised me a lot, and so has Gerard. Jared, is it? I think it's Gerard. Both those guys are players that I saw as just likable, but they're coming out like very strategic. And shout out Nofo, you pushed hard for Gerard / Gabriel to be in this cast, and I think he's doing pretty well.
Yeah, I wanted to see how he would play differently because it's been so long since I played with him. And
yeah, I mean, most recently he was in Suriname, which he kind of played a similar game to his usual. So we'll see. I think he's doing well though.
Mm-hmm.
Other players, I'm really entertained by Kara. Kara's always someone who's like a bit of a wild card and outcast in how she plays, but she does very well. I think she almost needs that a little bit. And so I think if Arumbara, I think is how you say it, if they went to Tribal, I think she'd be in trouble. Her or Sarah, probably. What do you guys think?
You mean after Jericho goes, or?
Yeah, well, Jericho's like the obvious on that tribe.
Yeah, I think that Sarah, Nova, and Sharn are all a little bit tighter.
Yeah, I think so too.
Although everyone is not suspicious, but everyone knows that Nova's a beast. I mean, she obliterated the competition that they just did with the unscrambling words. But I think for now she's good with most of them. I
see Nova being like an early merge boot, which I would love. I think she's gonna be a standout this season for sure, which I'm very pleased about because I don't think she was in her original outings. Sharn's a Stranded icon, so any placement we get with her is going to be good. I think the most in danger right now, probably Ross tonight, because Apunya is going to Tribal Council. I'm a little bit, I'm sad that Matt is going, but I think of our options is probably one of the better boots because he did play it safe. He's someone who I know is going to be a solid under the radar player, whereas I'm kind of hoping for people to step up a little bit more this time. So it's not like the biggest loss. I think we've gotten lucky with those boots. I think it goes back to this tribe placement opening challenge. And I think last night we lost Simon, who's played by Mikey B, someone who no one has heard of, but goes way back to season 9. And since his season has gone on to be on The Amazing Race Canada, but has always been like kind of involved in the community before Discord days. So, he's always been looking for another shot. And finally, the timing lined up. So I was very excited to have him back. Unfortunately, his time got cut short. I think it's probably for the best because he's another one of those players who's just a solid under the radar player. And I'm really looking for those players to kind of push themselves. And the ones who have with Gerard, Ben, and I think Mark are the ones on my radar that have gone outside of their normal gameplay. I think will benefit the most from that.
I do just want to point out something about Sharn that I didn't get to say before. I understand why Sharn is such an icon at Stranded now. Now that I finally get to see Sharn playing, just simply magnetic. Everything that Sharn says, I love. I can't look away.
He does not feel like that when you're playing with him.
I know. I was going to say, that's weird that you say that because I feel like socially he does not do too great. It's like his weakness.
I've never said that about Rudy.
I mean, I would say the same thing about Nofo.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like if he's fascinating and entertaining and just 100% himself every time he plays. So yeah, definitely Stranded icon. I'm really excited for Sarah, played by Nadia, someone we've been trying to get back forever, but life got in the way. But like in her heyday, she was known as like the comp beast, and it was at a time when there weren't a lot of female players. You know, there was like one every 3 seasons. So to have her come in and dominate challenges was something. So, and strategically, when she came back the next season, she went out super early because she was a huge target. So we hadn't seen her since then. And I'm really glad she gets the shot without that stigma attached to her. I don't think she's doing too hot right off the bat, but I would never count her out because she's a incredible competitor when she gets the chance. And who knows, maybe, you know, I don't know, maybe times have changed, but I just think she's very smart and very capable. So I would keep my eyes on her for sure. Mark, I've been loving. What a fucking weirdo, but like really entertaining and good. Like he's playing much more aggressively than he ever did. More of what I had hoped for him in the past, and he's finally kind of delivering on that. I think I love him and Tessa. I love their relationship with the alien thing. I don't know what's going on, but it's hilarious. I don't know. I really have a great feeling about this group. I didn't when I was casting because we got so many rejections just from a lot of people going back to work. So, or summer vacations. It's just not a great time to the point where I almost pushed it. But I'm happy with where we settled. I think this is where like Austranded, I think, should be, of a grab bag of legends and second chancers and all-stars and just all across the board. So I'm very excited to see what happens. Any final thoughts?
I'm rooting for Daisy. I want her to pull this out. I want to go to the end.
I think so far so good.
Oh yeah, I think she, depending on what tonight looks like, I think this is going to say a lot about her game and her future. It's going to solidify a lot with her future pairs and how people view her. So she has to make the right choice.
I've been sort of looking through the chats for Papunia as they lead to council. It really does seem like Michelle is the one leading the decision. Mm-hmm. Everyone's kind of going, Daisy going to Michelle, Harry going to Michelle. Baden even spoke to Michelle a little bit, but to some others as well. And it really is, it's centering around Ross, but that's because Michelle was okay with that when it was, brought to her. So
Michelle is a fucking force. She played in her season. It was like the final 3 GOAT. I mean, she almost won, but really she was up against Ziggy Sebastian, who had just dominated that season. Really, Donnie / Michelle really got overlooked for as a player, I think, and really only through like rematch and some mini games did we see a lot more from them. And now we finally get this, and I think we're just seeing the pent up force that is Michelle, and she has won the Hidden Immunity Idol. She's won individual challenges. She's great socially. I think she is a force. This is going to be a great season for Michelle, I think.
Yeah, and she seems to have Harry really tight to her after he told about the idol to Harry. So
which worries me, as Eric mentioned, which I love Eric's comments, but he said, "Oh, that'll work out great." Harry just turns on people just because he can. So I would probably worry about that. Harry is someone who's going to be interesting as well as time goes on. It's a good group. I think the people left are all good. I really want them to succeed. I want, these are people that I think have been waiting for their shot again and are really excited to play. So I always love that. And I root for those people to do well and finally get their time in the spotlight. So I think with that, we're going to close it out.
I have one thing to say.
Sure.
If Kylie doesn't win, I'm leaving the server.
Okay. I'd love a Kylie win. I think that's like, that's like wanting Rupert to win a Survivor season. Like, it's so far-fetched because they're too likable for the people in the game. Maybe not viewers might not like Rupert, but for us, I mean, she's that type of player where it's like, we love watching her and everyone loves her. So it would be hard for her to get to the end for that reason, but I'm hoping she does. I think that's going to do it. Tonight we have another boot. It looks like the swap is going to go forward tomorrow night as scheduled. No early forced swap just yet. And then we'll be in 3 tribes of 6. So again, a smaller swap. We're not getting those big tribes, which I think is going to be a little more interesting. We'll see. Maybe we'll regret it. But I think the smaller tribes worked out great so far. So I'm very hopeful going forward that it's going to work out. Okay, I think that just about does it. This is Pooty / Jonathan signing out. Bye.
Bye.